All right, 3, 2, 1. Hello and welcome to the very first episode of Center Circle. Hold on, my dad is calling me. Please hold. Hey, Dad, what's up?
What am I missing? All poor calls?
So many bad calls. The red card was definitely deserved for South Africa. Mexico's played. It's been a rough game, honestly. I don't know why they're going so hard. I know why they're going so hard in the first game because it's the World Cup, but it's been a rough game. Both teams are playing super rough.
Gotcha.
It's funny though that the referees are wearing cameras around their ears the entire time.
Yes.
So that's kind of fun.
That's a newbie.
Yeah. Also, fun fact, I literally just started hitting record on the podcast, so I've got you recorded. It's my microphone.
I wanted to know what the other was doing. A great deal. Happy for you. Proud of you.
Yep. So I'll have to make sure that you're the first that you're the first guest. Technically, if I keep this recording, you'll be the first guest just through my phone.
Okay. Well, good deal.
But yeah.
All right. Talk to you later.
All right. Yes, sir.
Okay, bye.
Bye. And that's an average phone call from Dad. So, hello and welcome to the very first episode of Center Circle. This is a podcast about soccer, aka football, aka football, aka the beautiful game, and all things related to it. I am your host, Alex McIntyre, and I believe some introductions are in order because this is the first episode. You might not know who I am or what we're doing here, although you clicked play, so shout out to you. But yeah, let's get into it. Some introductions. The main premise of this podcast is to bring the passion that I have for soccer to new fans of the game, hardcore fans, and everyone in between. A bit about me. I am a lifelong fan of the game. I grew up in a soccer-loving family. My dad played soccer since he was a kid at various levels of the game. I myself played soccer since I was like 3 years old and grew up playing mostly center back on a couple different teams here in the Atlanta area. And if I could be real, I'm not really one of those people who feels like he has a ton to say all the time, but soccer is one of the few things that if you ask me about it, I can just go on and on and on and on and about it. I love it, and it lives in my head rent-free pretty much at any given point of the day. It's soccer and music are battling for first place in my mind. I grew up idolizing my dad as a soccer player. He played a lot of different positions, but he also played defense, so I looked up to him a lot growing up, and him and my older sister, Ashley, were the ones who really made me want to play soccer as a little kid. I fell in love with the technical fluidity of 2000s Barcelona, first with Thierry Henry, and then, peak Messi, Xavi, Iniesta, Busquets years. Those really sealed the deal for me as a kid. Brazil is my dad's favorite team, from players like Pele and Ronaldo and Ronaldinho up to Neymar, and just the joga bonito of it all. And, the high energy, high effort U.S. men's national teams of that era, they had that dog in them for real. That was always really fun to see at the time. But yeah, a lot of those teams really fueled my love for soccer, just watching them play, feeding off of my family's energy, watching soccer. I spent way too many hours playing different versions of FIFA in my basement over the years. Shout out to my parents for letting me do that. I spent ages on career mode after playing games or attending soccer games and just drinking in the absolute masterpieces that are FIFA soundtracks. If you know, you know. And I never dreamed of having my own hometown team to root for, kind of like the English fans that I was always a bit jealous of, until Atlanta United came along in 2017 and became a legitimate part of my personality. And that kind of brings us to today. That's who I am. Before we move on, I have to say that I've been both inspired and pushed to start this podcast by my family. So shout out to my dad and mom and my younger sister, Kiara, for really giving me a really good pitch on why I should do this podcast, or maybe more accurately, why am I not doing a soccer podcast? And so thanks to you guys, I'm recording right now. So that's me. And you're probably wondering, how is this all going to work? This is a podcast after all. And the goal of this podcast is to first and foremost have fun talking about soccer, which is one of my favorite things in the world, and introduce people to the beautiful game from my perspective through background and context about the game and how it works in different teams and different matchups, different tournaments, talking about the men's game and the women's game, conversations with people who know soccer and have played soccer or are huge fans, and also people who don't really know soccer at all or just getting into it. We'll also talk about the game from past to present and future, and hopefully more. So we'll see how this thing goes. The lens I'm coming to this with is like my personal experience, my worldview on soccer, and things around Atlanta. This will be Atlanta centric because that's where I'm from, that's where I live, and sort of facing the rest of the soccer world from that place. So that's the overall plan. That's where we're going. That's who I am and what this podcast is. That's the plan for what this podcast is about. Now, where do we begin? I've got a first focus in mind to kind of kick things off, because as luck would have it, the biggest event in the world of soccer, aka the World Cup, just so happens to be kicking off right in our backyard as we speak. Like, literally, I'm reading off my script right now on my main monitor on my computer, and on my other monitor, I am watching the opening game between Mexico and South Africa. Mexico's up 2-0. South Africa just got their second red card of the match. Crazy stuff going on over there. So if I make any weird noises while I'm recording, that's what's happening in the background. I'm going to try to edit them out, but we'll see. So 48 international men's teams have made their way to their temporary home bases across North America, where the current version of this once per 4 years tournament is being hosted jointly by the US and Mexico and Canada. It is the biggest sporting event in the world outside of the Olympics, and maybe even more than the Olympics. Gotta check my stats on that. But it's the world's game. It's the beautiful game, and it's happening right here, right now. So my plan is to talk about the tournament and how it all works, take a look at some of the biggest matches and storylines, and that's a red card. Jesus. Take a look at some of the biggest matches and storylines to look out for, some Atlanta-based match previews and World Cup stuff that's going on around town, and talking about some of the context around this year's World Cup and all that's going on with that. So that'll be future episodes. As for the back half of this episode that you're listening to, aside from introducing you to what this is all going to be about, I want to run through kind of a rapid fire preview of the World Cup. So if you're new to soccer or new to paying attention to soccer, or you're kind of a soccer nerd like me and you really love this stuff, hopefully this will be a good preview for you. So, big things to watch. I'm going to break this down into sort of two sections. Section number 1 is big things to watch. Section number 2 is big storylines. So, first up, big things to watch. There are 48 teams competing in the World Cup this year, up from the usual 32 team field that was standard from like 1998 to 2022's World Cup. There are 12 groups this year, Group A through Group L, that were chosen through a special and kind of confusing process ending in a like lottery poll thing that FIFA does. Long story short, they try to spread the good teams around all the different groups and make some interesting matchups happen, all the good stuff. So I said this would be a quick preview. So here's a rapid fire run through of the teams and just some thoughts on them. So in category 1, I've got what I'm calling the world beaters. These are the top dogs in the international men's game right now. These are the teams to beat, and the teams that will probably beat everybody. Top of that list is Spain. The Spanish national team has been good for decades. You might remember, if you're of a certain age, the 2010 World Cup where they went through South Africa during the South Africa World Cup and the vuvuzelas and all that. That was a good time. But their team is once again incredible. They have a really just well thought out and well drilled system. They are the most recent winners of the Euro competitions, the UEFA European Championships. And they have Lamine Yamal, who is one of, if not the most exciting players in the game right now. He's maybe just turned 18. I think he still has braces on. Shout out to him. During the Euros, he was literally doing homework after games, and he plays for Barcelona, and he's easily one of the most exciting soccer players that you're going to see. So he's dealing with a couple of injuries coming into the tournament, but if he is healthy, you are going to want to pay attention to him and the rest of that Spain team. They're my pick to win the World Cup. I think they're incredible. So that's that. Also in the World Beaters category, France. They are the most recent runners-up of the World Cup. They have maybe the deepest, most stacked squad of anybody in this tournament. At basically every position, their second and third tier guys could be starting on any of the other teams. They are that scary. They've got Ballon d'Or winner in Ousmane Dembele. They've got Mbappe. They're an effective and scary team, and they're also fun to watch. So if you're looking for a team that's fun to watch, any of these two will do it. Third on my list is Argentina. They are the defending World Cup champions. They have maybe one of the best players of all time, if not the best player of all time, Lionel Messi. This might be his final ride. He's 38 now. But they also have a deep squad, including former Atlanta United star Thiago Almada. He's been on the bench and getting into some games. He's really exciting. Their whole team is quick and intelligent and good. So they're fun to watch. That's category 1. Category 2, I'm going to call strong contenders. You've got teams like the Netherlands, teams like Brazil. You've got Portugal that could have a legitimate shot of winning the tournament. Brazil always has high expectations, but have fallen short a lot in recent World Cups. So it'll be interesting to see kind of what their team looks like coming into this tournament. Portugal is a scary team. Cristiano Ronaldo, also up there in the GOAT conversation, he still has the scorer's mindset, but he also kind of holds the team back a little bit in terms of the way that they play and the way that he just kind of sits in pockets of space and then goes to score goals. So we'll see how they handle that. But if they play around the limitations that come with having Ronaldo on the field, they've got a really good shot. So that's category 2. Category 3, I've got the hosts of the tournament. So maybe not in order of best to worst teams, but it's important that we mention them at this stage because we have the USA, Mexico, and Canada. For the USA, this is our second time hosting the World Cup, and as a soccer federation, they've grown tremendously since the '94 World Cup. But there are a lot of questions about how our newest golden generation of soccer stars are going to fare in this tournament, and also the lineup choices that are being made by Mauricio Pochettino. There's a lot that we're unsure about, a lot that we don't know, but there are a lot of really exciting players to look out for. Christian Pulisic, of course, Weston McKennie. You've got Anthony Robinson. You've got Malik Tillman. You've got Tyler Adams. A lot of interesting players and factors at play. So we're not sure how far they'll make it, how well they'll do. There's a lot of there are high expectations for the U.S. considering that we're hosting the tournament. They didn't make the 2018 World Cup, and they didn't get as far as people think they should have in 2022. So it'll be really interesting to see how far they'll make it into the knockout rounds. If they don't make it very far, it'll be a shame. But also, the world beaters are world beaters for a reason, and the U.S. looks like a lower tier team next to them. So we'll see. As for Mexico, they are the United States' biggest rival, and they've been in a weird space throughout the last decade, but it seems like they've got momentum on their side coming into the World Cup. And now backup goalkeeper Guillermo Ochoa might never retire, and his hair still looks incredible, so bless him and that team. They just won this game against South Africa, and they look like they're up for the fight, and they look like they can score some goals doing it. So it'll be interesting to see how they go. Out of the three hosts, I think they have the biggest shot of making it the farthest in this tournament. As for Canada, they are, as a soccer nation, finally coming into their own with American head coach Jesse Marsh bringing in a really strong playing style to the team, and they've got quality players like Alphonso Davies leading the charge back on home soil. Really interesting to see how they do as like players on the world stage. They're like just coming into the spotlight, so it'll be really interesting to see kind of how they handle the pressure. Okay, for Category 4, I'm calling this Other Contenders. There's, of course, a lot of really good teams in the World Cup. That's why it's called the World Cup. But here's some other teams to watch out for that might make a run or could make a run, or at the very least make things really, really, really interesting and just be a good time to watch. So on this list, I have Japan. They are a really fun team to watch. They play really hard, and they just seem to be getting better and better every time I see them in a tournament. So really interested in seeing what they do. Ivory Coast and Senegal are easily two of Africa's best teams. I'm rooting for them just because of that, honestly. England they are perennially one of the world's best teams, and they always have incredible players and somehow disappointing results. They haven't won a World Cup since 1966, and that weighs on everyone really heavily over there. But it's never a dull moment. Keep an eye on Harry Kane and Jude Bellingham in particular. Ton of good players on that team. The Premier League is the biggest soccer league in the world for a reason, and they've got the players to show for it. Let's see if they got the results to show for it, though. South Korea, Son Heung-min, formerly of Tottenham, currently with LAFC. Everybody loves him. He's a really good player. Just fun to watch. And also South Korea as a team are generally pretty good. They usually hit the top of the of their international conference over there in East Asia pretty well. So it'll be really interesting to see what they do. Ecuador is really solid. They did really well in World Cup qualifying this time around. Belgium has the same problems as England, but we're on the back end of their golden generation, so it'll be interesting to see kind of how they fare against a bunch of other teams that might cause them some problems. Jeremy Doku, though, I will point him out as an incredibly dangerous and a very fun player to watch. He plays for Manchester City in the Premier League, and he is just so dangerous on the ball, and he's so fast, and he's great hair. Uruguay is always dangerous. Darwin Núñez is a standout player and a former Liverpool star forward. Also great jerseys usually, so look out for them. And Morocco had a fantastic run last time at the World Cup, and then also with their under-23 squad at the Olympics. And then Norway, they've made it back to the tournament, and Erling Haaland is just such a strong presence and an incredible goal scorer, also for Manchester City. So very excited to watch him and Norway see the Vikings come to North America and see what they could do. And last but not least, Category 5. Here's some fun teams to root for. Curacao and Cabo Verde are small teams. Curacao is the smallest country to have a team ever make it to the World Cup. They both have great jerseys. Curaçao's jerseys especially look incredible. Curacao have the hardest group, in my opinion. People often call it the group of death. It's the most difficult draw out of anybody in the tournament. So Curacao will be playing Germany, classically really solid team. Ivory Coast, mentioned them before as being easily one of the best teams in Africa, and Ecuador. They're all incredibly solid. Shout out to Curacao. They're a lot of fun, and hopefully they'll have a lot of fun being in the tournament. I'm really rooting for them. Shout out my Caribbean massive folks. Democratic Republic of Congo, also fun. And Paraguay, even though they'll be playing against the United States in their group, another Atlanta United star and OG, Miguel Almiron, will be playing for them. And, I just can't hate that big smile of his. And, they're a really tough team. So I'll be curious to see what they get up to in this tournament. So yeah, that's the rundown on the teams in general and how things are going to work in this tournament. I want to cite my sources a little bit here because there are a ton of really good soccer writers and podcasts and fans going really hard on World Cup coverage right now. And I've absorbed a lot of information from them on this. So special shout out in particular to one of my favorite podcasts, Five Stripe Final. A lot of really good folks in that Discord. Five Stripe Final does fantastic soccer work with Atlanta United coverage and just general soccer coverage. So shout outs to them. Matt Doyle, one of the most well-known soccer people in MLS and the U.S. men's national team spheres. John Green, yes, the author John Green. If you don't know, he's a massive soccer fan. Him and one of his childhood friends just started a soccer podcast. Just getting into that. It's really good stuff. And then a creator that I've started following within the past year named Tiana. She's at its_Tiana on Instagram and TikTok and all that. She has an incredible social media account centered around football. She's British. Centered around football and fashion and passion for the game. And I love her takes. Just really fun content over there. If you're looking for like more World Cup coverage, soccer-wise, and The Guardian and all those people that I mentioned before are going to have some really good in-depth breakdowns of everything that you need to know and more going into the tournament. So if you're looking for details, lots of really good places to check out soccer content. Okay, big thing number 2 for this World Cup are the storylines. We'll do some quick hitters there and then get into more details with some future episodes. But some of the biggest things to watch outside of the soccer, off the pitch. Thing number 1, the sky-high ticket prices that they have for these games at the World Cup. Thousands of dollars for the final, easily in the high hundreds and 200s for the literal highest up seats in these stadiums, especially in America. And way more for halfway decent seats. Plus, trying to get these seats, there's a secret series of ticket drops that are Nike sneakers app levels of impossible to win at. And it was just not fun attempting to get tickets. Like at all. Not at all. And very difficult to get tickets. And it's horribly expensive, especially compared to previous World Cups in other countries. So there's that. I personally will be watching for what the ticket prices are going to be like once the games get closer to hand. I'm not too far from Atlanta's stadium, so hopefully I can sneak into Mercedes-Benz with some decent ticket prices, like day of or maybe close to. Fingers crossed. I will keep you guys posted. There's also sort of the general price gouging that's going on with ridiculous prices for concessions and stadiums, although that's probably not too dissimilar from what American sports fans are used to, but I'm sure our visitors will be a little bit shocked about $8 bottles of water outside of an airport. Plus, many cities like New York and Boston are experiencing really inflated prices for transit to the games, whether by train or by bus. You've got cities like Kansas City that are expanding their bus systems temporarily for the games, and that's a whole thing. So that's going on in the background. Also going on in the background, there's the sort of the United States of it all, to put it lightly. There's travel bans against a bunch of the countries that are involved. Fans of countries ranging from Iran to Scotland are having their visas revoked last minute. The Iraqi squad was held up at an airport for like 7 hours. One of the Switzerland players was having last minute visa issues trying to get over here. The Iranian team has been granted only single-day visas for game days, and some important members of their staff were being denied visas. So like they can't come with their team. Like they have to be based in Tijuana, Mexico, but all of their games are in the U.S. The top referee from Africa who's from Somalia was held for questioning and ultimately denied entry because of allegedly supposed terrorist organization ties, or his name was kind of similar to that of somebody on a watch list or something. You can't make this stuff up. And are we surprised? Well, FIFA is famous for repeated historical instances of corruption and ignoring human rights issues, particularly under current president Gianni Infantino. So no, not surprised at all. But plenty of these things could have been avoided in the run-up to the World Cup. And from especially like the United States, the infrastructure and all that. I think Atlanta is, I don't know if we're done paving 285, but probably not. So who knows how traffic is going to look come the Spain versus Cabo Verde match on the 15th. But nevertheless, all 48 teams are here across the USA, Canada, and Mexico. And I'm excited to experience the thrill of the World Cup all the same. And hopefully you guys are too. So looking forward to all that. So what's next? As lucky as it is that the World Cup is happening in my backyard, I am going out of town quite literally right after it starts. So if you're hearing this episode close to the time when it drops, I will not be around. I'm going to be somewhere completely different. However, I'll be keeping up with all the games just from a different time zone, and you might hear a couple of pods from me while I'm on the road with some thoughts and some recaps and just some other stuff that I've been working on in the back of my mind while getting this podcast concept sort of on its feet. So when I get back, I've got some plans for some breakdowns and talking about some context around the teams and the tournament and keeping track of what's going on. And with some of the games being in Atlanta, they've got different festivities and special things happening around the city. So looking forward to talking about some of that and hopefully hopping into some of that. It's an exciting time, and hopefully this is the start of an exciting ride. So this is the end of episode 1. If you've listened this far, I appreciate you so much. Thanks for listening to me ramble about soccer, and hopefully you had a good time. If you like what you've heard so far, subscribe to the podcast wherever you listen to podcasts. Tell a friend who loves soccer or who's getting into soccer right now, and we can ride this ride together. If you're into social media, you can find the show on Instagram and TikTok and YouTube at Center Circle Soccer Pod, and Blue Sky at Center Circle Soc Pod, SOC Pod. And if you have any questions or suggestions for things to talk about, send me a DM in any of those places, or an email at centercirclesoccerpod@gmail.com. So that's it for me. Hope you enjoy the start of the World Cup. Hope you've enjoyed this podcast so far. Until next time, stay breezy, drink some water, watch some soccer, and I'll see you then. Deuces.